I had the chance to start working on mitigation assessment since the beginning of 90s. So I'm an old intervener in this market, and I also had the chance and the opportunity to get involved in developing, in getting involved in carbon markets since the beginning of 2000, and through a development of projects like CDM project between 2004 and 2012, intervening in several countries, Tunisia, Cameroon, and so. And my intention here is to present, based on carbon market operation models, as very well described by my colleagues, the previous speaker. You will notice in my presentation, though we didn't speak together before, that we are speaking the same language. Considering that carbon markets provide new development opportunities, it is an important point because it's not a constraint. Getting involved in carbon markets could represent an excellent new development opportunity for those countries that would like to get involved in this market. And then we may imagine relevant national readiness responses to get involved in this market, and agenda that I suggest to articulate around 5 steps. The necessary knowledge on GHG mitigation potential is an important step to know how to get into the market by any country who wanted to be part of the market. Second step, establishing the institutional and organizational framework to get appropriately involved in the market, setting the rules and regulations for getting involved in this market. Of course, building awareness, expertise, and know-how in a country so that the country will be able to develop projects and then enhance its contribution or participation in the market. And then the 5th step would be promoting the country at international level. Of course, if you don't have the ability to communicate at international level, no interested buyer would come to the country to buy certified emission reduction. Getting back to the Article 6 market, what are the organizational framework and institutional framework that is needed to promote the development of access to the Article 6 market? First of all, there is a need for a country to establish a national designated authority. This authority would have the responsibility in approving, authorizing national project to get into Article 6 and 6.2 and 6.4 market. Otherwise, no buyer would come to the country to buy certified emission reduction. Also, the responsibility of national designated authority would be to evaluate projects according to sustainable development criteria and their contribution to national priorities. Then the DNA would be able to avoid those projects that are not part of the national priorities and to avoid any, I would say, difficulties in convincing national stakeholders that this is an opportunity and not a constraint for the country. Important point also in terms of organizational step is to design an Article 6 guidebooks. So stakeholder would know how to get into the market in the country through the procedures, providing the procedure, clarifying the rules, etc. It is also important to involve major stakeholders, including private sector. For example, in Tunisia, 2/3 of the mitigation potential over the period 2021-2030 are provided by private sector, would be provided by private sector projects. So it might be a different situation on other countries, but we generally think that all mitigation potential are related to public project, but it's not really true. So it is also important to implement a national registry where we would register emission reduction that are sold to international markets, for instance, and then we would find the same registered project in those country or enterprises at international level that would have both this certified emission reduction in order to avoid double accounting of these emission reductions. We also have in the voluntary market, if a country is interested in developing a voluntary market, in establishing a committee or an operational bureau in charge of promoting voluntary market, eventually covering the three options that I've been mentioning earlier in this PowerPoint. Also, there is need to implement a national compensation neutrality label or build partnership with international voluntary labels so that enterprises that are willing to get into neutrality objectives wouldn't use neutrality as without any rules and communicating on this in a strong way an unfair way. Also, there is a need to involve major stakeholders, including private sector and NGOs, in this voluntary market development, and prepare and publish a voluntary market guidebook so all actors in the country would know how to develop and to tap on this voluntary market potential.